answer. And so that's what's really, I think, played out for us so well here in Salt Lake City, is that a few years ago when we came up with the concept of social workers, there were some skeptics that said, really, Chief, social workers attached to a police department? It'll never work. They'll see the image of the police department or the cops and the fear, and they won't come in and ask for the question. Well, I tell you what, since July 19th of 2016, we have now seen over 6,000 people walk through the front door of that CCC, the Community Connection Center, and ask for help. And now we've expanded the CCC to include our host officers, our homeless outreach service team, our crisis intervention team officers. And just recently, we've taken our bike squads, and if you go down to 500 West and 2nd South, the south portion of that building is now a small precinct for the bicycle officers. So there are even more police officers down there, and people still come through that front door and need and ask help. You know, personally, I try to get down to the Rio Grande area every day, because I think about that area and what's happening down there a lot. And I need to see firsthand what's going on, and I try to talk to the officers and to give them support and to hear their feedback as to what's working and what's not working. So me personally, I'm invested. It's difficult. It's a difficult situation. I don't think there's one easy button to push. I think we all have to pitch in, and there's a lot of work to be done. I truly am thankful for Mayor Biskupski and her leadership, the team that she's put together, that we can all go down there from Public Works, the Health Department, streets, the service providers. Everybody has a lot of work to do, but if we all come together, and I think through Mayor Biskupski's leadership, that has really come to fruition, that many hands make light work. For many, many years, it's just kind of been left to public safety, maybe police and fire, to be down there and deal with a lot of these problems. And so right now it's refreshing to have that type of support from a mayor and the city council and everybody that really truly wants to make the Rio Grande area better for not only those that live down there, I mean those that are experiencing homelessness, those that visit the area, and those that work down there. I think we're all coming together to truly make a difference.
Next up is our History Minute.
Starting in the 1930s, the Utah Oil and Refining Company used a small parcel of land in the Rose Park area to dump toxic waste from their refining operations. This came to an end in 1957 when Salt Lake City acquired the property, but the area would continue to be known as the Sludge Pit. Mitigation efforts began in 1982 when the Army Corps of Engineers began to build a slurry wall to prevent groundwater contamination. Then, in 1983, the Environmental Protection Agency stepped in and listed this mess as a Superfund site and went to work making it even safer, capping the site with a clay covering and soil and vegetation. Today, the cleaned-up site is part of Rosewood Park. A small parking lot was built over a piece of the original sludge pit, and the rest doubles as a spot with natural vegetation. Every 5 years, the Rose Park sludge pit undergoes inspections just to make sure it's still safe.
That's it for another episode of Capital City News. Thanks for tuning in and staying informed on city government news. We hope you join us next time. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar. Start off with our legislative update and look back.
And whereas Salt Lake City has a dedicated history of creating and supporting policies and programs that stand against discrimination and promote equality and opportunity for all members of the LGBTQ community. Now, therefore, I, Jacqueline M. Biskupski, Mayor of Salt Lake City, do hereby proclaim May 31st through June 4th, 2017 as Pride in Salt Lake City, and encourage all residents and visitors to embrace Pride's message of equality and unity to enjoy the festival in peace, safety, and love. Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Got it. Cut a little harder. Yay!
And the idea to make a trail out of what is a canal, there's water running right now under this all the way. It's not an alleyway, has been around for a long time. The trail connects our school to our neighborhoods and our parks to our neighborhoods, but really it connects us as people. So if you see me on the trail and if I see you on the trail, please say hi and let's allow this trail to help us be a stronger neighborhood.
We're really trying to promote people getting on their bikes this summer and getting out of your cars. And for the first time, we have a map that shows you how connected we really are within this county. I think you'll find that we are making significant progress on making sure people can get around this county and this city on your bike.
For this week's interview, we hear a personal story from Mayor Jackie Biskupski about what pride means to her and why it's so important for a city to be welcoming and inclusive for all.
I came out in 1994, and it was here in Salt Lake City. I had already moved here and had started a career here. And it was a very scary time. It was a scary time for most people. Most people were not out. In fact, there was a call across the country back then for people to come out, to become visible, to be in a space that really challenged people in their mindset, because everyone knew somebody gay, but nobody knew that person was gay. And it was not an easy time, not easy. The hiding is so hard, and saying things with certain pronouns and trying to avoid conversations so you wouldn't have to disclose what you did over the weekend. And, you know, it was hard. It was a tremendous burden to try and live two lives. And it was also a tremendous burden to not value who I was myself, like not just fully embrace who I was and just be me and not worry about what other people thought.
started. Thank you for joining us today. Will you please join us by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. We'd like to welcome each of you for being, and thank you for being with us tonight, pardon me. We appreciate that you've taken time out of your schedule and your evening to be here at the probable closure of our budget for this year. I'd like to highlight that this meeting agenda includes 3 different parts to reflect the business of the local building authority, the redevelopment agency, and the city council. I make that distinction for the public's understanding and to ensure that we have a clear record. A little known fact that we repeat every formal meeting now is that when you are elected to the city council, you are also then serving on the redevelopment agency board and as the board of the local building authority. So we'll conduct business as each of those entities tonight. We're going to begin with the business of the local building authority, or the LBA, and then we'll move on to the RDA business agenda, and then finally the city council business. To start the meeting, we've laid out some guidelines for decorum that we always adhere to make sure that people feel comfortable and feel safe expressing their opinions during the comment periods. These guidelines apply whether we're doing LBA, RDA, or city council business. Is my time up already? I need more than 2 minutes, sorry. So here's the guidelines. Please be respectful of other people's comments. Avoid cheering, jeering, booing, clapping, laughing. We don't want people to feel intimidated and unwelcome. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room. Another little known fact, this was the original room of our state legislature before our Capitol was built. And even some of those chairs are the chairs they sat in, so the story goes. So help us take care of that. Please don't lean against the furniture or the portrait in the room. If you have a sign, a prop, or other piece of equipment such as a video camera or otherwise, please make sure it doesn't cause a disruption or block people's views. Signs that are wider than your chair can be displayed in the hallway, and also items like sticks and dowels are not allowed in this room. Please don't approach the dais. If you have something that you'd like to pass out to the council, just raise your hand, or if you're speaking, let us know, and a staff member will distribute that and you can keep speaking. Our staff is here to help you. Staff, will you raise your hand and give us a wave tonight? If you need something during the meeting, if you have a question, if you're not sure how the procedure goes, raise your hand and staff will come assist you and answer your question. We also recognize that 2 minutes is really often not enough to get all of your comments across and thoughts outlined. So please visit our website and refer to the contact info there. Also on the comment cards that you'll fill out, you can fill out your contact info, and if you'd like the council office or council members to contact you, you can indicate it there. Okay, so next, as the local building authority, we are at item A4 on our agenda, which is approving joint meeting minutes.
Madam Chair, I move that the board approve the joint meeting minutes of Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017.
Is there a second? Second. I have a motion by Board Member Penfold, second by Board Member Luke. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question. We approved those minutes this afternoon in the RDA work session when we did a joint approval.
LBA.
I know, we did LBA and RDA at the same time this afternoon. My question is, was there an LBA work session on the 23rd as well as the discussion, the formal meeting? So it's okay, I assume, to approve them twice.
I think it's okay, and I
Okay.
just don't have the answer at my fingertips. We're still sort of working out
Figuring out
How
how
to
to
joint
do all of
minutes
this
and
all
how
at
to do
once.
this. So
Okay.
this raises a practice pointer that we can work on.
I move we approve them or approve them again, whichever the case may be.
Thank you, Board Member Adams. I still have a motion and a second by Board Member Penfold and Board Member Luke. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. We're now at Section B, the potential action items, acting as the local building authority regarding a resolution adopting the final budget for the Capital Projects Fund of the local building authority of Salt Lake City, Utah, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2017, and ending June 30, 2018. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the local building authority pass a resolution adopting the final budget for the Capital Projects Fund of the local building authority of Salt Lake City, Utah, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2017, and ending June 30th, 2018.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Penfold and a second by Board Member Kitchen. Is there any discussion to the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes, and that concludes our business as the local building authority. We're adjourned as the LBA, and now we convene as the Redevelopment Agency Board. Our potential action item here is regarding a resolution adopting the final budget of the Redevelopment Agency for Salt Lake City, Utah for fiscal year 2017-18.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Board Member Adams?
I move that the board adopt the FY 2018 RDA budget reflected in the attached key changes spreadsheet with the clarifications and contingencies as shown on the motion sheet.
Second.
I have a motion by our RDA Board Chair Adams and a second by Board Member Kitchen. Is there any discussion to this motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
sorry, we had one item that
Oh,
we
thank you.
needed to make you aware of, and that is, it's the very last item on your large motion sheet. It's the item that you were discussing the other night. It's $100,000 relating to the Utah Theater, and you did receive the written information that you had requested, but you didn't schedule it in a discussion, and we didn't ask you earlier tonight. So are you okay leaving that on, or would you prefer to pull it off? Either is fine. We can deal with it later or now.
May I amend my motion, or do we have a discussion? Margaret, how does, either way?
You
it's
can
okay?
amend your motion, then I'll call for discussion.
Okay. I would adopt the key changes with the exception of item 6, the Utah Theater due diligence.
Do I have a second? Second. So a motion by Board Chair Adams, a second by Board Member Luke. Do we have any discussion?
I would say that one of the reasons I'd like to pull this is that we want to have further discussion about what's going to happen with the Utah Theater, and we could bring it up in a budget amendment once we've had that discussion.
And Madam Chair, I recall that when we did have the discussion in the work session, that this appropriation is not time sensitive and that it could be addressed in a budget amendment.
That's my recollection as well.
Any other discussion? Everybody clear on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes, and we've approved the budget on the RDA. All right, now we adjourn as the RDA Board, and we're going to convene as the City Council. Now, acting as the City Council, is there a motion to approve the work session meeting minutes of Tuesday, May 16th and 30th of 2017, as well as the joint meeting minutes of Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017?
So
Madam
moved.
Chair, I move for approval.
Second.
I have some excited motions by City Council Member Rogers, and a second by Councilmember Kitchen. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We're on to the public hearing section. And for the record, items G1 through G4 are regarding grant applications, and they'll be held as one public hearing. I am looking at some cards coming up here. I'll remind you that there's a few opportunities to speak, so this on different topics. All right, James Berenson, please come on up. You have 2 minutes.
Greetings, comrades. Thank you for letting me address the Politburo.
Where's the fine chairman at tonight? She too scared to face her plebs? You guys talk about saving money on the budget and whatnot. You guys saying on the interweb, it says you all have a $237 million budget. The square miles of Salt Lake is between 90 and 110. LA has 509, New York has 468, Chicago has 234. But, you know, I wish I could figure out how to audit the books here, because this don't make sense in my dumb head, how y'all can have $237 million and you're crying about being $1 million short. That don't make no sense. So I passed papers out for y'all to read. One of my ideas was quit poisoning the water. Right here it says impact of fluoride on neurological development in children. Why is it you want to buy these chemicals and put them in the water when it messes up youngsters' heads? That's not right. There's some money you could save. Another way you guys can save money is there's a whole bunch of churches here, every denomination, yet they don't have to pay taxes. That would increase revenue right there. I mean, I don't understand this, you know. You guys crying about $1 million, quit buying all the chemicals, putting them in the water and whatnot, and, you know, start charging everybody a fair tax, then you wouldn't have these kind of problems. But how would I go about getting the city books audited?
I can have you talk to one of our staff members after you step down.
All right, because I mean, I know y'all get funds from the feds for the roads, in the state for the roads, but you ever been on a bus in Salt Lake? It's pothole city. Y'all ain't spending no money there, so that money has to be going somewhere. I just don't know where it's going because it's not going to the roads. And I don't know. My time's up.
Thanks, Mr. Berenson. Anybody who wants to speak to the grant applications?
Madam Chair, I move that we close these public hearings and defer action to a future meeting.
I have a motion by Councilmember Penfold, a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that passes. We're now on the potential action portion of our council agenda. Item H1 is regarding an ordinance amending the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2016-17. Budget amendments happen several times each year to reflect adjustments to the city's budgets, including proposed project additions and modifications. I'll look for a motion on this one.
Madam Chair. I move that the council adopt an ordinance amending the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2016-17 as proposed by the administration, with the changes listed on the motion sheet.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Penfold and a second by Councilmember Luke. Is there any discussion on this one? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next potential action item is regarding an ordinance amending the zoning of 6 parcels located at 527 through 559 East, 2100 South from CB or Community Business to RMU 35 Residential Mixed Use, and amending the Central Community Master Plan Future Land Use Map.
Madam Chair, I move the council adopt an ordinance amending the zoning for 6 parcels located at approximately 527 to 559 East, 2100 South from CB to RMU 35, and amending the Central Community Master Plan Future Land Use Map.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kitchen and a second by Councilmember Luke. Is there any discussion to this motion? Go ahead, please.
Was this one we continued on for a further public hearing? No.
No,
No.
that was the cottage properties.
Madam Chair, I have a follow-up question. Can someone remind me what the community council came out in support, or did they come out in support?
The Community Council Board did come out in support, and the immediately adjacent neighbors who spoke to us in public comment, and we stayed around and spoke afterward. This is my comment on this one, is the difficulty with this is that the current zoning of CB requires a much smaller, about a third of the setback from their backyard fences than the proposed rezone would of the RMU 35, which would require a 30-foot setback. It would allow an extra 5 feet of height to 35 feet, which they could actually achieve even with, I believe, an 8-foot setback through CB. They could still get to 35 feet through other processes that are out of our hands. So it's a tough one because at prima facie, these neighbors don't want to have increased height in their backyards, but the reality of us denying this rezone means that they will get about as high or exactly as high a building, but 20 feet closer to their backyards, which will have, by the measurements that we've seen in their proposals, a more detrimental effect, of course, on their view and on their sunlight in their backyards. So,
Thank you.
any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. The next potential action items, H3 to H13, are regarding ordinances associated with the implementation of the mayor's recommended budget for Salt Lake City, including the library fund for the fiscal year 2017-18. I'm going to look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I have a clarification question of staff. Do you need these each individual motions, or can they all be one continuing motion?
The way they have set it up is that motion 1 is a single motion on your big sheet, everything in red. So motion 2, all of that information below there is adopted by that single.
I'll do them one at a time, I think, just for neatness.
I
if that's
appreciate
okay.
that.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt an ordinance approving Salt Lake City's fiscal year 2017-18 budget as outlined in the attached key changes schedule and staffing document, along with contingencies outlined below, excluding the schedule for capital projects NDAT, the library fund, and any items that may be considered separately.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Penfold, a second by Councilmember Luke. Is there any discussion to this big motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, I further move that the following appropriations be contingent as shown on the motion sheet.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Penfold and a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt an ordinance approving the budget for the library fund for fiscal year 2017-18.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Penfold and a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
This is the fun one. I move that the council adopt an ordinance setting the rate of tax levy, including the levy for the library fund upon all real and personal property within Salt Lake City made taxable by law for fiscal year 2017-18 as listed on the motion sheet, and authorize the chair to sign the necessary documentation for the State Tax Commission. A tax of .005120 on each dollar of taxable valuation. A .003482 shall be credited as revenue in the general fund, generating $75,454,790.
Number's incorrect.
77.
I apologize. $77,454,790 of ongoing revenue, and .000032 shall be credited to the judgment levy for the general fund, a one-year adjustment generating $711,819 of one-time revenue, and .00772 shall be credited toward repayment of general obligation bonds generating $17,172,630 of ongoing revenue, and .00830 shall be credited as revenue in
That
the
was an
special.
incorrect number. One more zero in there.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you for correcting me. .000830 shall be credited as revenue in the special library fund, generating $18,651,347 of ongoing revenue. And, watch these zeros, folks, .000004 shall be credited to the judgment levy for the library fund, a one-year adjustment generating $89,886 of one-time revenue.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a motion by Councilmember Penfold, a second by Councilmember Kitchen. Any discussion to that? All of those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt $26,370,695 to be transferred into CIP, including approving $12,598,934 in funding for annual debt service as detailed in the mayor's recommended CIP budget, and with the understanding that funding for CIP projects will be considered separately later this year.
Second.
I have a motion by our Council Chair Penfold, a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move on.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt the legislative intent statements as outlined on the motion sheet under motion 6, items A through I.
Second.
I have a motion by our Council Chair Penfold, a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? Come on.
I support these intent statements. That's my discussion.
Okay.
Well, Madam Chair, I do support F, particularly fund balance level, as making sure we get on solid financial footing for the years to come with our contingency. So thank you.
Any other discussion? You're just going to put this one down the green for later discussion? Okay. I'll stop with the golf puns.
Madam Chair, we need a vote on that. Legislative intent.
I have a motion on the legislative intent statements by our Board Chair Penfold and a second by our Councilmember Luke. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, one more here. I'm looking for a seventh motion.
I move that the council adopt ordinances A through G as shown on the motion sheet relating to the fiscal year 2017 through 18 budget with the amendments as outlined on items G.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kitchen, a second by our Council Chair Penfold. Any discussion to this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes.
Madam Chair, if I may just take a moment of privilege and thank the council for this budget process this year. This will be my last budget, and that's kind of weird. But I'm very grateful for the deliberate nature of this body and the collaborative work that we did as council members and with the administration, and working through some rather difficult issues, but I am very pleased with the outcome and the conclusion, and I look forward to next fiscal year.
I don't think you'll miss the budget. But we'll miss you, I think. Next, we're at the comments section of our agenda. Are there any questions of the mayor? But we want to recognize our chief of staff, our mayor's chief of staff, Patrick Leary, deputy chief of staff, David Litvak. Thank you for being with us tonight. Any questions?
Just a statement. We don't have the mayor here again tonight.
That's right. We're finalizing the budget, and the mayor is not here. Anything else? Thanks for being here, guys. We'll move on to the comments to the city council now. Our general comments section is right now. So if you want to speak about anything for 2 minutes, now's your chance. Raise your hand. We'll bring you a card if you haven't filled one out. Just like with the other public hearings, I'm going to call people. Actually, I didn't have 2 at a time to call before, but I'll call you 2 at a time. First one, please come up. Second one, be ready to roll as soon as they're done, please. Comment time is limited to 2 minutes, and you can't combine your time with another speaker. As a reminder, please help us create a civil and respectful meeting here by being respectful during other people's comments, no loud noises or disruptions. Please don't block views, and let the council staff help you pass out anything you might want us to have. So first, we've got George Chapman, followed by Travis Byrd.
Okay. As much as I respect the mayor, I have a problem with the appointee for the UTA board. The previous appointee, for some reason, was causing an issue with who is going to pay for airport tracks. I think that's a really important issue for you, and you have a chance, a very important chance to influence the UTA board and decide, help them decide whether or not service is more important than projects. The UTA proposal is just to have a basic track station at the airport. Unfortunately, Salt Lake City Airport wants to have a very expensive, very pretty looking, eye candy, $65 million track station. That's going to come out as service. And that's what you have to decide, whether or not service is more important than projects. My concern with Senator DeBackus is, as a friend of the mayor, he will be pushing for that project. And if you approve Senator DeBackus, effectively you're going to be hurting service for the rest of transit riders. I urge you to turn it down and to look for someone who will push for service expansion on the UTA board. For the last 10, 20 years almost, we've been pushing projects. It's time to expand service, and I urge you to turn down Senator DeBackus and look for somebody who will actually push for service expansion. Thank you for listening.
Pardon me. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Mr. Byrd, Travis Byrd. I'm here. Come on up, and followed by James Berenson. James is my final card. There's a lot more people here, so if you want to speak, please raise your hand and we'll get a card into your hands.
Hi again, guys. You guys know why I'm here. I'm trying to keep Hayward in Utah, and I have a great idea, but the mayor's not here. Will you just tell her that I'm praying for her and I hope she's okay? But my idea is I think July 1st, we should make it Gordon Hayward Stay Day. Can you tell her I would like to do that?
Patrick and David, can you communicate that
Do you
for
think
us?
she'll be here next week?
She's actually on her way right now.
I hope she, well, if she's here next week, we won't be, so that will be awkward.
So I don't have to come next week, the week after that?
July is our next meeting.
Our next council meeting is July 11th.
All right, because we got to keep him. Just think, I mean, if he leaves, we're going to lose a lot of games, and a lot of people won't be eating at restaurants and everything. And I'm going to be pretty lonely at the arena. I'll probably be the only one there. And I want to say thank you to you guys for always being nice to me, and you're doing a wonderful job. And I hope Hayward stays so I don't ever have to come here again. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Byrd. James Berenson is my last card.
This has something to do with the budget. I'm sure it's over because you've imposed your tyranny. But, you know, America is for Americans. You only need to be one thing to be checked by either the United States Constitution or the Utah State Constitution, and that's either a U.S. citizen or a Utah resident. We keep pushing all these monies and encouraging all these other people to come and take advantage of our generosity. That's another way to slash money, to save money so you can acquire the $1 million that you guys are short. I remember a time when it used to be put on the ballots, and they would ask for, should we raise taxes on ABC? That is a thing of the past. The county said they needed to raise taxes. They put it to the people to pay for the jail. The jail was paid for 2 years ago, but the council decided to extend it. They didn't put it back to the people, and I don't know how to say it, but that's tyrannical. The people were the one that approved it, said once the jail's done, then our property taxes go back down. But, of course, the tyrant spoke and the people pay. I would just say, Mr. Chapman, you seem like a very intellectual man, and I would encourage you to run for whatever council seat you can so we can root out some of this tyranny. It's becoming oppressive. Either physical or financial manacles is I believe, is the end game of you all. Make us all so dirt poor because you have to raise our taxes to pay for this idiotic thing. Whatever it is, it's just wrong. You know, you guys were elected to look out for us, protect us from the tyranny, and not enforce it. I don't know if you get your orders from Bilderberg or maybe the Council of 300. I don't know. Bilderberg did meet a couple weeks ago in Virginia. They are a real thing, and I know they control over 50% of the world's money. They have a lot of sway behind them, but you know, America is land of the free and home of the brave, or at least it used to be.
Thank you, Mr. Berenson. Anyone else want to speak tonight? Okay. We're now at section J1, the new business part of our agenda, to consider the proposed appointment of Senator James Dabakis to the Utah Transit Authority Board. First, I'd like to note a correction for the public record. His term would extend to March 27th, 2019, rather than June 6th of 2021, as reflected on our agenda.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I move that the City Council suspend the rules and not approve the mayor's recommendation to appoint James Dabakis to represent Salt Lake City on the Utah Transit Authority UTA Board of Trustees.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Luke and a second by Councilmember Kitchen. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Please.
Point of personal privilege. So I'm not supporting Senator Jim Dabakis for the UTA board, not because I'm not interested in transparency, but rather because Jim can already do everything he's talking about in his current role as a state senator. UTA definitely needs a shakeup. The entire structure should be reformed. This can only be done at the state legislative level, not internally as a UTA board member. While UTA goes through its transformation, Salt Lake City is more dependent than any other city on UTA for transit needs. We can't wait before UTA is reformed to figure out how the airport terminal extension will be funded, increased bus frequency and routes in the city, and increased S-Line service. Those things need to happen now. So I sincerely hope that Jim is as interested in UTA reforms as he seems to be, and I look forward to seeing his UTA ideas in legislative bill form for the upcoming legislative session. Salt Lake City needs a board representative who understands transit, uses transit, and will work to increase agency transparency. There are many Salt Lake City residents who could serve effectively in that role, and I encourage Mayor Biskupski to look at the above-mentioned criteria when sending us her next nominee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion? Yes, Councilmember Kitchen.
I'm also obviously going to not support Senator Dabakis for this position. And it's unfortunate that he is not here because I wanted to praise him and offer my sincere appreciation for his willingness to serve on this board. But it's unfortunate that this appointment has come like this, because I believe that this is truly just a symptom of the current mayor's administration that either doesn't understand or care, in my opinion, to effectively address transportation issues in our city. Keith Bartholomew, our previous board appointment to UTA. The way he was treated was unacceptable behavior from a capital city mayor. Instead of exploring ways to better connect our community, whether it's east-west connection or otherwise, we've been talking about building walls on 200 South. Robin Hutchison, she's been gone for almost a full year. Salt Lake City has gone 1 full year without a transportation director. Look, I loved Senator Dabakis, and he brings an incredibly important voice to Salt Lake City, and he represents us well in the Senate. And I hope that he takes all of those concerns and issues that he brought today during our advice and consent interview. I hope he takes that to the Senate and advocates for transportation and transit equally as aggressively as he has over the last few days. We need transparency, but we need somebody who uses the system to advocate for Salt Lake City on UTA's board.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Everybody loves Jim Dabakis, and I think that's pretty sincere. He is a character that's hard to resist. Salt Lake City has a unique relationship with UTA, our regional transit provider. All three TRAX lines converge in downtown Salt Lake City. It's the hub of the Front Runner system. Most UTA trips in their entire system originate or terminate in Salt Lake City. We have an exceptional regional transit system for a city our size and for a region our size. It's not to say that UTA isn't without problems and challenges. They certainly have a history of secrecy and a lack of transparency and potential conflicts of interest in the past. Many entities are watching UTA, and in particular, their enabling entity, which is the state legislature. And until recently, even the U.S. Attorney was looking at UTA. While they're no longer under the microscope of the federal investigation, they continue to be investigated by the attorney for possible questionable activities in the past. I can't think of a more qualified watchdog of that organization than the U.S. Attorney. And important as regional services are, Salt Lake City also has a clear need to improve the transit options for Salt Lake City residents. As council members, we hear that over and over and over again. The number one request for services in Salt Lake City is increased frequency and number of bus routes. These bus services were seriously cut during our recent recession and have not been fully restored to pre-recession levels. My primary concern for filling a Salt Lake City's only slot on a 16-member UTA board is that we do that with someone who can truly represent and advocate for the transit needs of Salt Lake City residents. It's critical that we as a progressive city that embraces transit options and has a priority of clean air in our entire valley look to developing partnerships that are workable and collaborative with our primary transit service provider. I won't be supporting Senator Dabakis in that role. However, his talents and skills, I believe, are best served in his role as state senator. I sincerely hope, and he said so today in his interview, that he will continue to support transit and transit users in his role at the state, and it is my hope that he will continue to be an advocate for the changes that we need to see to really have a stellar local transit system in UTA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any other comments? I'll make a brief one. That I appreciated the dialogue that we all had the opportunity to have with Senator Dabakis earlier today. I commented then that it's been an interesting few weeks of hearing from so many community members, but really regional community members who love what he stands for and the voice that he brings to otherwise quieted issues. And it's difficult to disagree with him on an issue for me. And yet, when we spoke about this last week, we very cordially agreed to disagree, that I see this role as probably more critical than it's ever been before in order to advance our population, our residents' transit needs, which we've never actually articulated before until now with our transit master plan, which this council will begin reviewing this summer for the very first time. We know where we need to go as residents. And it's not about serving the regional commuters. It's about serving our residents. And we know what we need to do. What that's going to take is a prioritization of our single appointed board member on the UTA to advance our transit needs. And it's going to require a more intimate relationship with our transit provider than we've ever had before. It's not a time for our single position to fight. I don't disagree with the senator that this reformation is critical, and I do see that things are in place and in motion already, thanks to Jerry Benson and some other changes that are happening at UTA. It's not enough yet, but I don't think that that's our role on behalf of the UTA region to be a fighter in that game. We need to build for Salt Lake City right now, and because of that, I'll be voting against the senator. I'm ready to take one more comment.
Yeah, before you do, Madam Chair, I do think that something came up in a question to the press that I think was enlightening to me, in that there's been some comments that our residents demand this kind of oversight because it's important for us to have the trust in the UTA organization to approve additional funding through mechanisms like Proposition 1. I think what got missed in that dialogue is that Salt Lake City passed Proposition 1. It failed in other parts of the county, and we lost it countywide, but there was over 60% support in Salt Lake City. I think that is a good indication of the desire of the residents of this city to have a collaborative and supportive relationship with the UTA to expand local service.
Any other comments? I'm going to roll call this one. We'll start with Councilmember Adams.
I want to make sure that I'm voting what I intend. The motion
motion
is
is
to
not to
not
approve.
approve.
Thank
Correct.
you for
So a
clarifying.
yay means you agree with that, correct?
With not approving.
Okay, I vote yay.
Yes.
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 And I'm a no.
That passes to not approve Senator Backus to the UTA board, 6-1 vote, with Councilmember Rogers dissenting. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of consent item number 1 and consent item number 4, which will be moved to a later date.
I have a motion by our council chair Penfold, a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes, and this concludes our formal meeting. Thank you for attending.